make this point a little more realistic, I want each of you to take a cup.
Thank you.
And do you have a pen or a pencil? Okay, go ahead and take one of those. Thanks. One for you. Oh, JP's got one. Okay. I want you to take your cup and I want you to think about, we've all been talking about things that we don't necessarily like about ourselves or problems that we have. And if you think of this cup as your self-esteem, if we had a pitcher of water and we poured into that, what would happen with our cup?
Fill up.
Yeah, it would fill up. And when our cup is full, we feel good about ourselves. We feel pretty confident, feel like we can have a good day. But each of you have been talking about something that you don't feel good about yourself. That affects how you, function here at school and how you feel about your day and how your day then goes. I want you to take your pencil and I just want you to punch the holes in your cup that represent those things that you don't like about yourself. Because if I poured water in this cup now, what would happen?
It's going to pour out.
Right, it's going to run out. And that, I think, is what's happening to you all, is you have holes in your cup. And so even when teachers or administration or your friends try to pour in and say, oh, Jen, you look nice today, or, JP, even when we try to be encouraging, what happens? When we pour into that, if you have holes, it just...
Water comes out.
Yeah, it just drains out. So take your pencil and think, what are the holes in my cup? What are the things that lead me to not feel good about myself? And then take your pencil and just punch those.
Do you want us to label them or anything?
That would be good. Yeah, you can label them. What are they? What are those things? I'm not smart enough, I don't dress the right way, or what are those things that lead you to not feel good about yourself?
Can we make them bigger like that?
Yeah, Jen's making big holes in hers. Yeah. JP's got holes in the bottom.
Make little holes too?
You can make little holes, sure. But now I want you to think, what are those holes? And we're going to talk about that. So just write a little note about what that hole is. Is it grades? Is it smart enough? Is it looks? Is it stuff that goes on at home? What is it? Okay. That was a big one, Morgan.
I was going to tear up the whole cup with that one.
Okay, so what are some of the holes in your self-worth? What are some of these things that lead you to not feel very good about yourself? Jen?
My dad.
Your dad? Stuff with dad? Okay. We're going to come back to that, okay? I want to hear from everybody and then we'll come back to that.
Okay.
What's something else? JP?
Like being real shy.
Being shy?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And parents and grades for me as
Okay. So you've got a hole in your cup about parents too.
Mhm.
Just like Jen, you've got dad and some stuff with parents. Okay. How about others of you, Lauren?
I have this hole because I'm not liked by my classmates. I feel they don't like me and they always
Okay.
make fun of me for
Okay.
stuff.
Well, maybe we can talk about that in group too.
Yeah.
Eric, how about for you?
Lena not liking me.
Lena?
And I don't start on the wrestling team.
Okay. So yours is about stuff with girls, with Lena, stuff with sports.
And my mom and my stepbrother.
Okay. Well, there's the parent one again. That might be the one we end up talking about first. Okay. Morgan, how about for you?
Well, I've got my mom and sister in there, so I've got the family too, but
Okay.
my big hole is not making the cheerleading squad.
Oh, okay. So
Practice and
Eric's got the thing with wrestling, and you've got the cheerleading thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I think is this helpful to understand what some of these holes are? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what the purpose of our group is from here on out, okay? Our purpose is going to be to work together to patch each of these holes. And that's what group is really about, is working together, having discussions together, supporting each other, and figuring out how in the world we patch these holes so that, look, this is really what group can be about. Right? Providing support for each other. That's what our group is really about. And so I think what we want to do is maybe, since it was a common whole for each of you, is talk about this thing with parents. I think that's maybe where we want to go first. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's important to note how the leader used the cups to get members talking about themselves and to begin to process the material that comes up as a result of the exercise. In other words, the leader processed the exercise and was ready to take the group to a deeper level. Next, the use of the small chair can be a very powerful exercise to get members talking about themselves in a deeper way.
I'm just a little concerned, with Thanksgiving break coming up, that, every time I go home, like, it seems that it's just like I'm back in high school again. And, my mom and I have the same fights. I feel like, will she ever realize that, like, I'm not, like, 14
Hang on, let
anymore,
me pick up
you
on
know?
what you're saying, because I think this is good. I want all of y'all to think about this, because I think when you go home, do you end up in the little girl seat?
Yeah.
And I want a lot of y'all to think about this. I see a lot of smiles. It could be when you go, we can go for a long time on this. When do you get in the little girl seat or the little boy seat? It could be around family, but it could be in love life or around boss. I mean, it could be anywhere.
Well, for me, I definitely can relate to Fran. I know when I'm around my mom that even though she means well, some of the things she says are really, they put me right there. And she would end up comparing me to my older brother, my younger brother, and I feel like I'm right there and not quite good enough.
Well, she said comparing to the brothers, and mine's with my sister. I just never feel like I'm gonna achieve.
Do
what
you
she's
feel in the
achieved.
little seat?
Yeah, when I'm around her, yeah. Totally.
Does that seat have much power? Just looking at it, Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, it's my grandmother for me, and immediately, I mean, the way she breathes, it's her breathing to me, because I
Really?
can just tell in this sigh of like that sigh says, oh my God, you're wearing that and you're gonna go out in public in it. That's exactly what that sigh says.
And
I'm right
you're
there.
in there.
Yeah.
Okay, JP, what about you?
Well, I get that with my family, but I even get it here at college, with the RAs and the dorms telling you got to be quiet at these hours and no, you can't do this. And, so for me, it's even here, not even just with my family.
I mean, maybe they're telling you the rules. Do you get in that seat,
Oh,
though,
yeah.
is when you feel like...
Yeah, absolutely. I
Okay.
feel like I'm not even an adult. I still have no control over my own life.
Yeah, I mean, like what I was saying with my mom, it's the same kind of stuff, because it's about rules. It's, she expects me to have a curfew again. Like, I haven't had a curfew in how long? Come on.
You mean when you're at home?
Yeah, and then when I'm at home, and then she starts in on me, and I feel like I have a hard time. It makes sense when you do that, because it almost reminds me of my nephew when he's throwing a tantrum. Like, I end up slamming the door and,
Let me do this. If you went home in this seat, or if you, JP, when you're around, what's the difference of being in this seat than in this seat? Go ahead.
I was just thinking, you old bat, you can think whatever you want to think, and I'm going to be okay with it in that seat versus, oh my God, she's doing it to me again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one would think the old bat, what'd you say?
They're like, she's just going to be who she is.
Right.
That's her routine. That's what she does, and I can be okay.
Remember that line about expectations in line with reality? When you go home, that's how your grandmother's going to be.
Right.
But I so want my mom to behave, to finally get it, It's frustrating when I go home and she still doesn't get it that I'm not that young.
Okay, how do you do that? Let's say your mother doesn't get it. How do
Yeah.
you stay? Can your mother make you go to that seat?
I want to say yes, but I know that I'm making the choice to go there. Like, I know if I go home and I listen to what she says and I expect her to be something different, then I'm going to go right back there instead of into the adult seat for sure.
Again, the leader used the exercise as a way to get members to talk about themselves in relationship to others. Then the leader focused on the different comments of the members. Too often, leaders conduct an exercise but do not process it to the point where members go to a deeper level. The example stops at a point where you can see that the group was going to go much deeper. Watch how the leader uses a simple, common reading to generate discussion. The leader hears from all the members and then starts to deepen the focus. Unskilled leaders often hear from just one or two members who take up the time, sometimes even discounting the reading. In this demonstration, the leader has the members underline the word or phrase that stood out to them. It's also important to note that the reading was short, only a few sentences.
Okay, I'd like for us to do something a little bit different today. I'd like for you to take a minute. I'm going to hand out a passage, and I'd like you to read the passage. Go ahead and just underline the sentence or the phrase in the passage that stood out to you, okay? Just take a few here. JP, pass it around that way. Morgan, if you just pass one over there to Lauren. Here's some pens. If you don't have a pen, here's pens. And just go ahead and read the passage. Underline the sentence or phrase that stands out to you. Everybody have enough time? Okay. What sentence or phrase stood out? Anybody like to start or share
I'll start.
that you underlined? Okay, Morgan, what did you underline?
Well, in the first sentence, when it talks about dedicating their lives, that just really stood out to me because when you think about dedication, you know, usually it's a positive thing or something that you really enjoy, but that's kind of what this has been like. All of the shoulding that I've been doing is really taking up so much of my life. And in a negative way.
So you're connecting that's the dedication went to the shoulds instead of how could you reframe that? And hopefully here in group, that's really what we're going to work on is to reframe those shoulds and let them come from the dedication piece that's going to be helpful to your life. Okay. How about some others? What did you underline, a sentence or a phrase?
I underlined the curse of the ideal because I feel like I keep trying to make myself this maybe like something I'm not, and that's what keeps cursing me, if you would.
Is there someone else that related to that sentence? Because I just saw you.
The sentence right after that, the curse that you should not be what you are.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Eric? I have one on the same thing, but most people only live their life for their image.
That's what I had.
That's what you had too, Jen. Yeah.
That's big for me. I feel like I've had to do, but never actually be. You know what I'm saying?
You're relating that to, well, the difference between doing and being, because I know we touched on that a little earlier in last session, but that's a different type of lifestyle, isn't it? Just the doing and would you like to say a little bit more on that, Jen?
I think you said it pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah. And really, that's, again, the purpose of our group is to take a look at whether it be readings, but then directly apply them to our life experiences and see what it is within us. I like to use this statement. I hope it works too. Sometimes we have to go within to see why we may be without. Yeah.
That's good.
And this one, write it down. If it works for you, write it down. If that works for you. And we can use statements or paragraphs to read them, and then we can get introspective and apply them directly to where we are. Lauren, I know you've been nodding a little bit when Jen and Eric were sharing. What is something else that
Well,
you
they
related
said doing rather than being,
Okay.
you know, and the line that you should not be what you are, and I just feel like I portray myself to be what everyone else wants me to be, not who I am.
Anybody else can relate to that, or that's certainly something that they have felt? Morgan, JP, yeah. And really, who am I? Who am I?
When I wanted to share the self and kind of, the more I share myself, the more I start to see the void. You know what I'm saying? Like
That makes sense.
You know, I just start to see it like, oh, because they start talking about like something that's not really real. So,
Okay.
As you can see, Heidi used the common reading exercise as a way to get people to think about themselves and the images they try to project. She would easily be able to go for another hour from the things that were triggered from this simple common reading. The last exercise that we show is one using movement to energize the group and to get members to speak with their feet and bodies. In this segment, the leader uses an effective sculpturing technique because he felt that there were some group dynamics that needed to be discussed. It's the third session for members at a residential treatment center.
The reason I have you standing is I'm going to ask you to sculpt how you feel about the group. And if you're really into it, you're into the sort of middle, you're open. If you're sort of closed or hesitant or, turned around, whatever you want to do that symbolizes sort of how you feel about the group. Okay?
Okay.
You ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Let me just start. There's a lot of things. What does yours mean?
I just don't know that I can trust people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I can necessarily say what, might really be going on because I'm not sure it'll really.
So your hand up here is
Yeah.
what?
I'm not saying anything.
Okay. And that. What is yours?
I feel really comfortable. Like, I feel pretty relaxed in here.
And open.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're open. Morgan?
I'm kind of half in, half out. I feel somewhat comfortable, but
What would help you to get, because the goal of this is and I'll get to you in a second, Joe, it's to see if we could get everybody sort of at least turned, hands down, instead of half in. What would it take for you to be all in?
I think just getting to know everybody better and having that trust there and knowing that everybody is on the same page kind of thing.
And what could we do? What could we sit around and talk?
This is helping, just having the conversation and knowing how people are feeling and where they're at as well.
Okay. Joe, yours, what is?
I'm sort of sideways, my arms are crossed, but I'm looking at everyone, and that's to represent that I'm really interested in what's going on, and I want to help other people. But as far as me talking about my own issues, I'm not there yet.
You're not ready to do it. You think you might get there?
Yeah. I'm not there right now.
Fran, what are you thinking?
Just, I would like, kind of what Joe's saying, I'd like to get there, but I've been in groups before where people just start talking about stuff, and, I feel like, I'd like to be able to trust everybody.
They start talking about stuff and then it gets bad? Let me talk. The first week we talked about this. For sure, if somebody shares something, I'm going to make sure they're not attacked. I mean, that I promise you. If they start, I'm going to stop. If you shared something very personal and you started attacking, I'd stop you. I'd ask you to leave. I'd do whatever it takes to protect that person. Is that fair enough that anybody sharing personally should be protected in here? Because I think a lot of y'all are hesitant. But do you plan to attack people for sharing?
No.
Do you plan to attack people? Do you? I don't think anybody in here is going to. You said something about getting to know people better. Would that help, or what would help you? You seem okay.
Yeah.
What would help you, Joe?
Well, this is my first group. I'm not like Fran. I haven't been to a bunch of groups, and I guess I'm still just trying to feel comfortable listening to other people. I think time.
Let me ask you this. This is our third session.
Yeah.
The first session, if comfort was a 10, on a 1 to 10, what were you in the first session?
2.
What were you in the second session?
2.5.
What are you now?
3.5.
Okay, so it's coming up.
Yeah.
How about for you? What were you?
Probably pretty similar. I think the first one I was just not there at all. It was kind of like maybe a 1, trying to figure out like what's
what
this
would
all
you
about.
give it now?
Probably a 4 or 5.
Okay, it's coming up. And you were pretty comfortable from day one, it seemed like.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
Why
like,
is that?
I think I trust that I'm not going to be attacked. Like I think I just feel safe.
Go ahead, Fran. What are you thinking?
I'm working on it. I don't even know that I'm up as high as like these two yet, but
But it's not because people are going to attack. Is it? Do you think anybody's going to attack you?
I don't know if necessarily people are going to like openly attack me, but maybe that people are judging what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. How do y'all feel about that?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to judge what people say?
I'm not going to judge someone else.
Are you going to judge what people are going to say? Are you? I think I think we do think that. But y'all shared some good stuff. I mean, you're warming up to this, and the sooner that we can do it, the better this group can be. Because here's what I know. You have stuff that you'd like to share, right? I think all of you do. We just got to get you to do it. Is this helping a little bit?
Yeah.
Joe, how's it helping?
Well, I'm thinking about what I want to get out of it, and I don't want to just listen to other people, I suppose.
You got stuff to share.
By using this exercise, Ed was able to get members to discuss their feelings about the group. The movement exercise not only gave the leader material to talk about, but to ask members about as well. We strongly encourage you to think of using movement exercises at various times in your therapy groups. As we say in the book, there are many different kinds of exercises. What we wanted to show in these last segments were examples of how the leader introduces, conducts, and uses exercises to get members thinking. Important keys when using exercises are to pick relevant ones and then process them to a deeper level. We just showed the beginning of processing because in each example, the leader could easily go for an hour talking about the issues that emerged. We've now come to the segment on using counseling theories in groups. As you've seen to this point, group leadership skills are an essential component for any successful leader. In support, growth, counseling, and therapy groups, an additional leadership component is the use of counseling theories. A leader needs to have a unified approach that establishes the rationale for when and how to use techniques, or groups can become a mess, a scattered hodgepodge of techniques. Counseling theories provide you with this unified approach and helps you to identify not only what needs to be addressed, but how to do it. There are dozens of sources that discuss counseling theories, so we'll not be covering the basic tenets here. Rather, our purpose will be to show you how to incorporate and use theories within our active approach to group leadership, where individual members are often the focus of attention. The first theory that we'll be demonstrating is rational emotive behavior therapy, founded by Albert Ellis. It's 30 minutes into the first session of a group on guilt. The leader uses REBT to teach and talk about guilt.
So you all have done some really good work in group, and we've been talking about this issue of guilt, and the work that you're doing around guilt. And I wanted to sort of go over something here this evening that I thought might be helpful. And so in getting started with this, I want you to think about, where does your guilt come from? For example, if I was going to give you a test, and that one test question was, where does my guilt come from? Well, how would you answer that test question?
My past.
Your past? Okay, I'm going to list these up here. So your past, okay?
Like things I've either done or haven't done.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about others of you? Jen's saying her past. What about others?
My religion and my mom.
Oh, okay. So mom. Some others of you have talked about guilt related to mom too.
And my
right?
religion.
And religion, okay.
Mine's kind of not being a good mom.
Not being a good mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not being a good mom.
Anybody else? Yeah, Eric?
That accident I had where that kid ended up in a wheelchair.
Oh, okay. So the car wreck.
Yeah.
Okay. We haven't heard from you. How about you? Where would you say your guilt comes from?
Being an unsupportive friend, I have a lot of guilt about that.
Being an unsupportive friend?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Right, so you all have all of these things that go on in your life, events or situations with your mom or being a mom, or Jane, how about for you?
Mine is like marrying American, and my parents just afraid that I'll lose my heritage and not going back to Taiwan anymore.
Okay, so marrying the wrong person,
Yeah.
according to your parents.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so and events, you see how these are events or situations or things that go on in our life, marrying the wrong person, you know, the car wreck. A lot of people, and me as well, you know, we're raised to believe that these events or these situations cause our feelings, right? We're sort of raised to believe that those cause our guilt. But I want to teach you something. And I learned this in my early 20s, and I'll tell you, it changed my life. And here's the idea. These events and these situations don't actually cause how we feel. Is that a new concept to you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if they're not causing how we feel, what causes it, right? Here's what causes it. It's our self-talk. It's what we tell ourselves about these situations or these events. So I'm going to write that right here, our self-talk. Now I know that's a new thing for most of you, right? Yeah, it's not the event, and this is the best news that you ever learn, because if you learn how your self-talk controls how you feel, then you can control how you feel. And a lot of you have struggled in here with large amounts of guilt. So if we understand what we tell ourselves about these events, then we can change it, because we can be in control of what we tell ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. We can control our thoughts. So let's take, for example, maybe Eric, let's go with yours. What do you tell yourself on a daily basis about that wreck? Let's just focus on that for a second, and we'll go around and we'll look at this for each of you. But Eric, what do you tell yourself about the wreck?
I should have known better.
Okay.
That my life is over. I mean, as I know, it's over. Everything is messed up.
Everything is messed up. Okay.
I'll never be able to get over this.
I will never, say that again, I will never
be able to get over this. I mean,
get over this.
How can I? Yeah.
Okay. You see how that's what Eric tells himself. You do that every day, right? You get out of bed and you start running that sort of message in your head. Okay. If we can change what Eric is telling himself, then we can change the guilt that he's feeling. And let me say this to you. I'm not saying that we can get Eric to feel good about the car wreck, right? Mm-hmm. But do you think it's possible that Eric is telling himself some stuff that's not quite accurate that might be leading to his increased feeling of guilt? Like, let's look at this one. I'm going to pick on this one first. I'll never get over this. I will never get over this. If Eric, if you keep telling yourself that, I think you're going to stay stuck feeling guilty, right? But let me ask, and I want you to watch when I ask this. How many of you in the group think that Eric could get over this and move beyond it? How many of you think that? Look at that, Eric. They think it's possible. Go ahead. What are you thinking?
I mean, I shouldn't get over this. I mean, I changed somebody's life. I don't think I should get over it.
How many of you think that Eric could give him that we should work to give Eric permission to get over this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody makes mistakes.
He made a terrible mistake, right? It was a car. What do we call them?
Accident.
An accident. I know you feel very guilty. Our job and the purpose of this group is to help you feel what?
Less guilty.
Less guilty. Okay? I will never get over this. Let's do this again. That's not, we just decided that's not a true sentence. How can we make Eric turn that into a true sentence?
Great job of teaching REBT, Chris. Teaching is truly therapy in this case because it gives members something they can use in the future to deal with their guilt. Chris also went on to focus on some of the members' specific self-talk. Next, we'll see Ed use Adlerian concepts. Let's watch.
Let me talk about something that's different, I mean a little different. There was this famous psychologist, Alfred Adler, and he came up with the idea that your birth order really makes a difference. You know, are you the youngest, you the oldest, you're the middle? So I'm gonna, and he said that has as much impact on you as, you know, your parents. So I'm going to just ask you to tell me, what's your birth order? I'm the oldest, I'm an only child, I'm the youngest, whatever. Morgan?
I'm the middle child, oldest girl.
Okay. Middle child, oldest girl. How many of you are middle children?
Just me,
you?
I guess.
Okay. Megan?
I'm the oldest.
Okay. Oldest of how many?
Younger sister and a younger brother.
Okay.
I'm the youngest.
The youngest?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go around and then get that, and then we'll ask how it affects you.
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
I'm the oldest.
Youngest, oldest?
Youngest.
Okay. Here's the next question. How did this affect you? Just think, because being the oldest, how does being the oldest, that's different than being the youngest. What effect did being the youngest, you know, is it having on your life? Y'all are all juniors or seniors in high school.
My brother wasn't around very much because he's 12 years older than me, so...
So that would put you almost an only child.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would put you that. And what effect did that have?
Well, since he wasn't around, I mean, I was basically the baby of the family. I got to do whatever I wanted.
What about you being a middle child? What effect did that have?
Well, I literally felt like I was always in the middle, kind of always mediating and kind of the go-between person because we're all 5 years apart.
Okay, and you said you were youngest?
Mine's more like irresponsibility and being a little more carefree because my older siblings had the responsibility part.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
What? You
no.
miss responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, my mom and dad worked a lot. They still do, and like when they were little, I had to take care of them all the time, and still do. And basically they get away with anything too, and I never did.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Y'all both smiling.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, my brother, he's 7 years younger than me, so I was always the one taking care of him, and it's like he had two mothers, so he could get away with absolutely anything, and I had to be the responsible adult.
Let me get you in, Joe, then, and I'm going to ask another question here. Go ahead.
Well, I was your brother, basically. I was, you know,
Gee, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I expected, you know, people to kind of take care of me, and being the youngest, like I got away with anything.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yep.
I still do.
Yep.
Here's a good question. How do you currently find your place in your family? Are you the smart one? You're the clown? You're the sports one? You're the dumb one? You're the mess up? You're the responsible one? How do you find your place?
I'm kind of the clown, but you know, now I'm approaching graduation coming up, and I kind of want to be taken more as the responsible one because I never have been, and so I see myself as the clown. Yeah.
But this is a good, important question. How do you find your place?
I think for me, being the youngest and everybody else is already out of the house, I find that when we all get back together, it has to do with me. And so I don't know like how that relates to me finding my place, but I find that like I bring people together, the family together.
Okay. But it is important. We each find our place somehow. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think we talked. I'm the responsible one. I wish I could be the clown. Some days I wish that that's where I could be, but I'm not.
Okay. When I say what impact, I mean, I don't know if this is really getting wheels turning in your head, but I think all of you ought to think, wow, my birth order matters. I mean, in my mind, because the oldest is often very responsible, the youngest is often irresponsible, or in the middle child often feels in the middle. So these are things I want y'all to think about. I mean, seriously think about. And the same thing is that question about how you find your place. Everybody wants to belong. That's a fact. And they figure out a way to find their place, either being the quiet one, the clown, like you said, you're sort of the clown, Is this interesting for you? I mean, what are wheels turning or not? Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, so what? You know, like, so what does it mean though? Like, what do I do with it?
Okay, the first thing you do with it is you think it's awareness of who am I, and so that you sort of, that's really what I'm trying to do in here, is get you to be more aware of who you are and why you are the way you are. That's what we're trying to do.
As you can see, theory provides not only structure for the group, but gives group members concepts that can transfer for life outside the group. And this is the real purpose of groups, to help members in their everyday life outside the group. In this segment, the leader uses a concept from reality therapy. Also note how the leader uses the whiteboard and writing. We believe that making concepts visual for group members is often very useful.
In listening to you all talk about your issues, I think there's something that I can show you that would really bring some clarity to the things that you've all been working on. I learned it from a guy named Bob Wolverine, and it's really simple. It's another tool that I can give to you. As we talked about, one of the purposes of the group is for you to have tools that you can use when you leave here. And it's actually, let's take a piece of paper, pass one around, and I'm going to write this up on the board to show this to you. As I write, I want you to write the same thing on your paper, okay? I'd like you to go ahead and write these letters on your paper, just as I'm doing up on the board. W, D, E, P. Okay? The W stands for want. What is it that you really want? Okay? I want you to ask yourself that question. What is it that you really want? What's something that you really want?
Better relationship with my father.
Better relationship with your father. Go ahead and write that there right after the want. You can. Eric, what is something you really want?
Drop a little weight, eat
Okay.
better, exercise. Stuff.
Go ahead and fill that out on yours. JP?
I think I'd like a more interesting life.
All right. Put that down. Fran?
A good, like, healthy kind of relationship.
Good choice. Go ahead and write that in. And Jen, what is it that you really want?
I think more closeness in my friendships.
Okay. Put that on there. Now I'm going to go through the rest of the letters, and you'll be able to apply this little formula to what it is that you really want. I'd like you to look at your papers underneath what it is that you want and ask yourself, what are you doing? What are you currently doing? Okay? Let's move down to the E. The E stands for evaluate. We're going to take some time here for in group, and we're going to take a look at, let's evaluate if what you're currently doing is really getting you what it is that you want. Okay? That's what we're going to spend some time. Ask yourself that question. Is what I'm currently doing, so take a little evaluative measure, is what I'm currently doing getting me what it is that I want? Eric, I see you kind of shaking your head over there.
I don't know if eating cookies are helping me get what I want.
Probably not. It's when I do this part with people, and when I do it even on myself, I kind of ask myself, how's that working for you, Heidi? And so I'm thinking, eating cookies, wanting to lose weight, how's that working for you, Eric?
Not so good.
Yeah, not so good. And again, this is just something we could take a look at. It's almost like a little 4-step inventory. Once we get clarity on what it is we want, then really what the next step is to see if what we're currently doing is getting us there, and if it isn't, that's where the P comes in. And really, that's the purpose of this group, is for us to be able to come up with a plan. Go ahead and write plan on your paper to get what it is you really want. And sometimes that requires support, that requires some direction, new suggestions, building some new skills. Okay?
Excellent work, Heidi, and thank you. we can't emphasize enough how important it is for a therapy group leader to be able to use a theory with the members' issues. We have found that many graduating students are unfortunately lacking in theory. We urge you to seek additional workshops to solidify your use of theories. The use of theories in groups is a natural lead-in to the next section, conducting therapy in groups. Everything you've observed and learned thus far has brought us to this point. Leading counseling and therapy groups often involves the most complex set of skills in group leadership. It's important to note that the goals of counseling and therapy groups are usually boiled down to two types: outcome goals, referring to changes outside the group member's life, and process goals, referring to goals pertaining to the group process. Process goals can be very important in certain kinds of groups, and sometimes therapy groups focus primarily on process and sometimes on outcome. In our examples, we emphasize outcome goals, helping people change the way they are thinking, feeling, and living. In this first demonstration, it's the fourth session of a group of people in recovery. The leader demonstrates a number of techniques that can be used to involve everyone. Also, the leader deals with a reluctant member.
I just don't deserve to be happy because of how I was when, I was on my addiction. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I took money from my parents. I left my kids when they were babies in the house by themselves when I went to go get drugs. And
You know what, I'm just going to ask, hold there for a second. I was wondering if you'd be willing to do something with the group, because I know this cycles for you, and I'd really like us to be able to help Lauren. Were you all willing to do that with Lauren for a minute or two? Yeah. Okay, Lauren, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to make those two statements: I'm a bad person, I don't deserve to be happy, to each of the group members, one after another. Okay, start here with Eric and look at him and say that, and then Eric, I'd like for you to respond back to Lauren the truth.
Okay.
You're not a bad person, you do deserve to be happy, or whatever it is, your version of that, okay? But you state what it is: I'm a bad person, I do not deserve to be happy.
I'm a bad person. I don't deserve to be happy.
It's not true. You deserve to be happy.
I'm a bad person. I don't deserve to be happy.
You're not a bad person. You very much deserve to be happy.
I'm a bad person. I don't deserve to be happy.
You're not a bad person, and you definitely deserve to be happy.
I'm a bad person. I don't deserve to be happy.
It's not true, and you do deserve happiness.
How many of you have all ever been in the space where Lauren is right now?
Only totally.
Yeah. And a lot of it, I don't know, for some of you, did it come down to that self-forgiveness, that forgiveness of self for some of the things that you did do while you were in your active addiction?
Yes.
Because it just sounds like to me that forgiveness piece hasn't come to you yet.
No.
Yeah. And you're focusing on what you did, and then you conclude something about yourself as a result, and there's no forgiveness whatsoever. A lot of times it's easier for us at first to forgive somebody else or how they look back at you and said, hey, you're not a bad person. And we see through the eyes of someone else. But I'm